Hello, and welcome to Forward, Mississippi State University's television show exclusively for the College of Education. I'm Camille Carskadden, the Communications Specialist for the college, and today we are talking with Dr. Paul Binford and Dr. Kenneth Anthony, who are co-directors along with Dr. Nicole Miller for the Teaching with Primary Sources Mississippi. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about Teaching with Primary Sources. What exactly is it?
So Teaching with Primary Sources is a grant through the Library of Congress. It is a part of the Library of Congress Teaching with Primary Sources Consortium. What we've done is we've had a grant for, I guess, 5 years now through the Library of Congress. When we go out, we produce materials for teachers, lesson plans and curriculum. We also conduct professional development with teachers, as well as train teachers here on campus in summer institutes and online.
Wonderful. And so, for those who don't know, what are primary sources and why are they important?
That's a great question. So, primary sources are typically defined as eyewitness accounts, and they serve as the building blocks of history. And so, as compared to secondary sources, which are derivatives. So, the Library of Congress is the largest library in the world, and they house all kinds of digital resources that you can access that involve eyewitness accounts and images of historical events. And so they have a real interest in teachers and students and schools and school districts utilizing those resources to benefit learning.
And how did y'all three get involved with Teaching with Primary Sources?
I guess way back in 2012, Nicole Miller and I arrived here at Mississippi State as junior faculty members, and we located a small grant through the Library of Congress. It was a Teaching with Primary Sources grant for about $20,000. We applied for the grant, and the work of that grant was to upgrade our curriculum for our pre-service teachers in elementary, to infuse instruction with primary sources into our curriculum, as well as to do some professional development with in-service teachers in the local school districts. So we applied for that grant, we received that grant, we did that work for about 3 years, and from that grant we realized that we had some pretty good materials, we had a pretty good professional development that we could share with the teachers, but we needed a way or another venue where we needed more money, I guess, to be able to do this. And then the Library of Congress Teaching Primary Sources program, they sent out a request for proposals that was for initially a 3-year grant for, I think, $200,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And so we applied for that grant with the goal of conducting the professional development, also to produce a curriculum aligned to the Library of Congress primary sources that Paul was talking about. And so we focus on teachers from grades 3 through 12 here in the Starkville School District. And so I think we had 4 elementary teachers, 4 middle school teachers, and 4 high school teachers. And we worked with them to teach them how to use primary sources in their classroom. They wrote lesson plans. They taught the lesson plans in the classroom. We helped them edit their lesson plans, and then only after we had vetted those lesson plans and we knew that they worked with real students, we put them on our website and they became a part of our curriculum. To date, we have 36 lesson plans on our website that were written by teachers and taught in K through 12 classrooms that are available for teachers. So that's how we got into that, and then we've kind of expanded it now. We extended our grant another to years 4 and 5, and what we're doing now is an awful lot of professional development going throughout the state. I think we did a count the other day, and we have reached 1,300 teachers in the state over the 4 years, I guess, that we've done in the grant so far. So I guess that's how we got here, and we're just continuing to do the work to try to encourage people to use teachers use those primary sources in their classroom with their students, because we believe it helps students learn and it has long-lasting effects even when those students become adults.
Wonderful. And so even if teachers don't do professional development through y'all, they can have access to these lesson plans?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a Teaching with Primary Sources website, and so those lesson plans are available. We send out a newsletter that features a primary source each month that they can connect to and link to the Library of Congress. So there are online resources, even if somebody doesn't come to a face-to-face professional development. And we also have an online course, so teachers can access professional development in that way if they choose to.
Wonderful. And you touched on it a little bit, but what do all of these professional development sessions, are they the same, or what goes on in them?
They generally have the same goal, which is to teach teachers what a primary source is, how to access those primary sources, how to use those primary sources with their students, and then really how to design their own lessons. Because we have the lessons that we've designed that we like. I like certain types of things. Paul likes certain types of things. But those are examples. We have the 36 lesson plans. Those are what other teachers, but we want them to be able to go do what we're doing in their own classroom. And so what we do is you talk about how do we reach people. We'll bring 40 teachers on campus in the summer in June for 2 one-week institutes that are five days each. But what we try to do is reach as many teachers as possible, whether it's going to the Gifted Conference that was here in Starkville back in the fall, or go down to George County where there's a consortium of teachers in the Gulf Coast where we were able to think 25 teachers that we met with, and we conducted a full day professional development with them, or the online, or sometimes we'll partner with other organizations like the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, the Mississippi Geographic Alliance, the Grant Presidential Library, to just conduct a one-day professional development, maybe on a Saturday, where teachers can come in. And what's important about all of these is they're not only getting the skills, but they're getting continuing education units that will help them with their recertification. And right now, because we're grant funded, we can provide that for free.
And I think some of the variation occurs with the fact that we have partnerships with a variety of different social sciences and with English language arts. So sometimes a professional association where we'll go to a conference and do a breakout session, sometimes they're tailored to working with geography teachers or economics teachers. And so there is some variation in that. But by and large, it is kind of bringing together primary sources, understanding the Library of Congress and what digital resources are available, and then bringing that strategy or teaching strategy or pedagogy together. So that's probably consistent regardless of what professional development we do.
That's great. And so do these professional developments, they go through whatever subject, or are there specific subjects that the grant helps with?
We are targeting, now the Library of Congress teaching primary sources at the national level, they reach pretty much every subject. There are people who work with math, there are people who work with science, everything. We have probably, our target audiences are obviously social studies teachers, elementary, middle, and high school. But we also work with a lot of English language arts, because when you look at the standards in Mississippi and nationwide, you have standards that say stuff like, read about an event from 2 different point of views, from 2 different sources. Well, you have 2 different primary sources about one event that the teachers can read, the teachers can use for the students and let them read, and then the students have to deal with the differences between those. How do they reconcile that what one person saw might be a little bit from what another person saw in a primary source. And so they're able to do those types. So the language arts curriculum actually mentions primary sources throughout it, as well as associated curriculum. Another group that is really good is the gifted programs. Because again, they have a media standard, and the media standard talks about what do you do with multiple points of views, and again, primary sources usually provide multiple points of views about one particular event. And then the final group that we tap into are the library or the media specialists, and that, I believe, with the Library of Congress really wants us to work with those media specialists, because they touch all the students and they touch all the teachers. And when somebody comes to them for resources, not only can they say, well, we've got these books here and we have these, they can also, but have you considered the Library of Congress's digital collection of millions of primary sources that are available online?
Wonderful. And so why is a grant like this important? Why are the primary sources important?
In part because students have to wrestle with historical evidence, and they have to evaluate those sources. They have to do something that's sometimes referred to in the literature as sourcing. What's the purpose of this source? What were the motivations of the author or the photographer or the artist? And so it really kind of parallels what we have to do in life. We're all the time evaluating information and then drawing some conclusions and then taking action. And so primary sources is one vehicle for students to learn how to do that, and then I think it has some practical application to life.
I think that one of the practical applications is if you look at the primary sources about the Titanic, the initial reports of the Titanic were that all were saved, that the other ship made it there, but we all know that that's different. But if you look at those, what happens is I think it teaches students to maybe to be a little questioning about first reports, to not accept everything that comes through media, and to wait before to not rush to judgment. I think it's a very practical thing that can happen here in the media world that we live in, where students are bombarded through social media with a variety of messages that many times initially prove to be incorrect. Well, that's the same way it was back in the early 1900s also. The other reason I think this grant is important is because we are able to go to teachers, we are able to go to districts and schools because of the funding. And we are able to provide CEUs to teachers through the funding, and that saves the teacher's money, but also saves the district's money. To send a social studies teacher to a conference to get CEUs includes the cost of the conference, the travel, the substitute teachers. All those things are costs that, because we are funded, we can help reduce those costs for the district. And the teachers are getting quality training and quality education, as well as they're getting it basically for free.
And I'd just like to add, compare that with a textbook. I mean, here we're giving a chance for students in some ways to create their own understanding of history versus a textbook, and they have their virtues, but rather than something that is written as if, well, this is everything about a particular topic, students get to investigate on their own, and in a sense they get to revise that history according to a new understanding that they have. So I think there's with primary sources, you have the opportunity with the right strategies to really engage students in that historical process rather than just being receptacles of information. They're actively involved in the historical process.
So an example of that is Lincoln's assassination, which gets about 10 lines in the average textbook, but there are tons of resources, primary sources about his assassination. And you get 10 or 12 of those sources, and the students are able to put those sources together, create a timeline of the events, and add a lot more richness and depth to that event and their understanding of that event just by using 10 or 12 primary sources. And we do that with 7th and 8th grades in one of our lesson plans.
Yeah, you can tell we're getting animated now. We're ready to break out in a lesson or something. Yeah, it is. It's really good, and that's a good example.
Fantastic. And y'all mentioned a website, so if people wanted to know more about the teaching with primary sources, where would they need to go?
I would go to my favorite browser and I would search for Teaching with Primary Sources Mississippi, and it will bring you to our resource page that has all the lesson plans on it. From there you can navigate. That's the easiest way.
Wonderful. Well, thank y'all so much for coming on to Forward today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information about the College of Education, visit educ.msstate.edu.